Welcome to the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. Today, we have a very special episode. Today's guests are two people who are leading an effort to transform lives through hospitality, education, and workforce development. Joining us today are Mark Steele, founder and chief education officer at the Restaurant Hospitality Institute, for short RHI, and Samantha Steele, co-founder and program director of the Blooming Bistro. And we're going to make sure that everybody knows, not husband and wife, brother and sister, big brother, little sister.
Yep.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, very
Thanks
excited.
for having us.
I've been hearing about you guys for a while. We hadn't met in person. We've crossed each other in life many times. And again, you have multiple fans here, not only on my team, on my staff, but across the ecosystem as well. We've done videos with some of the participants that end up at the Blooming Bistro. We've I think showed off the success you have to congressional staffers that have visited us. So really excited to dive down and talk to the visionaries of the project and get to learn a little bit about it. So to get us started, what we like to do in the podcast is let our viewers, our listeners know a little bit about you. So Samantha, we'll start with you first. Tell us where you were born, where you grew up, went to school, maybe even after school. What was your post-secondary acquisition journey? Take us to your first job at a school. And I know a lot of it will apply to Big Brother as well. But you get us started.
Yes, great. Thank you so much. And thank you for having us today. So I'm a native of Las Vegas. I'm born and raised. And believe it or not, I'm 50 years old. So awesome. I have, spent most of my life here, but I have also what we call in recovery, and we'll get to that at some point here, is a lot of geographical changes in my life. So I've lived in other cities, but I came back home here, and it's important to me to give back to our community, right? So I'm born and raised Las Vegas, and I went to St. Anne's, which was past tense, sadly, over on Maryland Parkway and Oakey, and it was right next door to the Old Gorman. And so whenever I tell people I went to the Old Gorman, everybody says they know, right? Because there's the new Gorman, which has been around for, I think, over 10 years now. So I went to the Old Gorman, and I graduated from Old Gorman, and for post-secondary, I had several attempts at different community colleges. I tried CSN. I started into my geographical changes, which took me to a lot of different cities throughout our country. And I never finished college. And, I am a person in long-term recovery. So sometime of my college years, I'll refer to in some of places that I lived. I lived in Santa Cruz. I lived in Boulder, Colorado. I lived over in the East Coast with family that we have there. And there's that old saying, everywhere you go is you, right? And then I ended up back in Las Vegas, and, I was very much involved in hospitality, raised in the hospitality business. My parents owned a very successful restaurant, which I'm sure Mark will touch on more, opened in the 1980s, actually located in the same center that the Blooming Bistro is on Rancho and Charleston, to the left side of Smith's rather than to the right. And I, always fell back on my hospitality skills. And that is what kept a roof over my head, even in my darkest days, kept food in my stomach, and let me be able to live. And so that, will intertwine back into the story at some point. But, then I moved back to Las Vegas, and Mark hired me at Cabo Wabo, and that was over on the Strip in Planet Hollywood, which was the old Aladdin, and Mark fired me from Cabo Wabo.
Like every good brother should do.
And he had very good reason to do so. There was, a regular morning shot routine that would take place before opening the outside patio that sat on the Strip. And, right whenever I have the shot glass to my mouth, Mark was walking out the door, and there it was. And it was a choice of either being tested and everybody watched and the ambulance came, or if you didn't do that, then you were just fired. So I ran to a freezer and I locked myself in it. And then I eventually came out and then I was fired. But, all of that led me to, the nonprofit world. And that was close to 20 years ago. So, and I'm just going to touch on, those foundations of those skills, in hospitality, which is a big part of everything that the Blooming Bistro is and what everybody learns, right? And it's the communication, customer service, multitasking, and attention to detail, right? And when you work under someone with the expertise of Mark, and the diligence and training, you perfect those. Yeah. And when you perfect those, you can conquer the world, right? Those skills, again, the Blooming Bistro is a training space and it focuses on hospitality, but with those 4 skill sets, you can go and do anything you want, right? And if you're really good in those areas, you will excel in anything you dream of doing, right?
We're going to dive into that Blooming Bistro in a second. Thank you for that background. That's really good. And so, Mark, I'm sure some of this applies to you, born and raised, but tell us a little bit about your growing up and about your first job, perhaps.
Absolutely. So I actually wasn't born in Las Vegas. Oh. I was born in London, England. So I actually have dual citizenship. Our father is British. And yes, I went to the same school, St. Anne's, but grew up here. So, Samantha dates herself as 50 years old and I'm the older brother. So you can do some math there, right? So, but grew up in Las Vegas, went to St. Anne's, went to Bishop Gorman. I also went to USC in California right after high school and then spent some time here at UNLV as well. So, Las Vegas is my home and I do a lot of traveling now for work and for personal just for what I like to do personally. And Las Vegas has probably been, as I'm sure with you, probably been like 10 or 15 different towns in the time that we've grown up here. So my first job was actually delivering papers when I was 8 or 9 years old, but otherwise probably about 12 or 13. I worked in the aforementioned Aristocrat restaurant, during the summer, during evenings and things like that. And you have pictures of me with a big bow tie and doing tableside service. So it was always, the restaurant business were always kind of in my blood. So.
That's very cool. Aristocrat, when did it close?
It closed. I don't know exactly the date that it closed. It opened in 82. I want to say maybe the early 90s. It was open for about 10 years or so.
Okay.
So early. I mean, not early.
Early 80s.
Early 80s. Okay.
It opened in 82 and it was probably open until 92, 93.
Okay, I missed
like
it.
That, so.
I got here to Vegas in 87.
Okay.
And my first job was at an Italian restaurant called The Vineyard.
The Vineyard, yes.
Vineyard.
So I kind of wish now that I would have gone to the Aristocrat. I'm going to ask some of my friends from that time, see if they went to the Aristocrat, because now I know,
Our parents sold it and they were asked to go open Spanish Trail Country Club. And because the people who started Spanish Trail, it was the Aristocrat was the place to be, right? So they dined, became close with my parents.
Wow.
And that's where my first job was at Spanish Trail, the grill room.
Wow.
And I was mortified to wear the bow tie. Yeah.
So you guys obviously have that in your blood and your, this hospitality makeup with those skill sets that work everywhere. If you, Mark, when you were going to school, the formal training at USC and UNLV, did that include hospitality as well?
No, that's always the funny part is when I went to school, I studied civil engineering and economics. So it's obviously a complete, complete path to end up at owning a hospitality school in Las Vegas, so never really studied any education or hospitality in my life. It was just like the ground roots education myself. So, and I will add that we are actually 4th generation hospitality experts. Our great grandfather was actually a master brewer of Guinness back in the day in Ireland. And one of the first breweries that opened up outside of Dublin. And both of our grandmothers worked in the restaurant business and our parents did as well. So
really
here we are. Yes.
Blood. Yeah. And Guinness is my favorite beer.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, right.
So, wow. And so Samantha kind of told us a little bit about how she got to the Blooming Bistro. How does somebody who, again, despite best efforts to leave the industry by going to civil engineering, economics, what brought you back into, the Blooming Bistro RHI?
Well, I can't say that I ever left the restaurant business. It was always, whenever I was going to school, it was I was always a hardworking kid and always went to school and worked a job as well. So even though when I was going to school, I never stopped working in hospitality. And I guess just somewhere along the way that it really was in the blood and was like, wow, I really enjoy taking care of people. I like eating. I like drinking. I like being surrounded by people and dealing with people. And it just kind of ended up being a career.
Were you in the light group during that time?
So that was like the early portion of my management career. Okay. So I spent a lot of time with the family and the family business, and then kind of branched off to myself. And the big turning point was, we'll call it like the opening of Bellagio in 1998, where I was very, very fortunate and got hired at a fine dining restaurant as a food server. And then all of a sudden I was surrounded by like all these real professionals and sommeliers and celebrity chefs. And here I am working right next to the fountains. And I really took on to it. And at Bellagio at the time, which, you shared that you were there as well, for food and beverage, they often offered classes for us. So I went through like Bellagio Wine Academy. I think I graduated my first of the class there, and they offered all these different vendors and classes coming in. And I was like, wow, this is like, I love this education and I'm getting it for free. And I was taking it with me into the restaurant that I was working at. So, after being there for about 5 or 6 years, I ended up getting into management. And then I found myself really, really enjoying the portion of not necessarily managing day to day, but opening restaurants and doing the initial training and hiring of people. I really like setting up the systems, where I did work for a couple companies here in town, Light Group, Pure Management Group that we spoke of, to where I was kind of like their designated restaurant opener. So whenever a restaurant opened up, even though I had my home station wherever it was, I'd pick up for 2 or 3 months and go and open that restaurant and train the staff.
That's
and then,
fun,
and then it was fun, but it's a lot of work, a lot of work, and a lot of interviews and meeting a lot of people and firing a lot of people too. But
even your siblings,
even my siblings. So, actually for the record, I didn't fire her. I just told her she couldn't come back.
Right. Very good. So let's get back to Samantha, because, you're starting to talk already about, how it's in the family. And so when you speak, I can sense that the Blooming Bistro is much more than just a restaurant or a place that where you do business. It's a place where people's lives are transformed. And so, Samantha, tell us a little bit about the mission of the Blooming Bistro, besides having to, again, meet bills and all that. But from your words, tell us about the Blooming Bistro, its mission, what it means to you.
Okay, so the mission of the Blooming Bistro is to uplift at-risk youth, second chance adults, into sustainable employment and lives, right? It sounds very simple, but there are so many pieces that, and people and partnerships and, training and all sorts of, hands-on experiences that are happening day in and day out at the Blooming Bistro, right? So already with a regular restaurant function going on, there's already a lot going on, right? And then we're taking youth who, all of our youth there was one, with exception of one person, had never worked anywhere before. Right. And then our second chance adults had been out of work, most of them, for 2 to 5 years. Right. Some because of incarceration and, just maybe being homeless or addiction. Using. Yeah. So, we, with partnerships, we have DWSS is involved. They're on site every week, sometimes 2 times a week. Of course, Workforce Connections, Employee NV, RHI, and countless other people, who I like to call some our Earth Angels, who just show up and have shown up for the bistro, and volunteers, and just all these supporters that want to provide everything that is needed to really enhance the holistic well-being of everybody in there. And I like to say, and into the community as well, right? So you feed your body and nourish the soul, and we try to bring that alive in our food as well. But it is about awareness. It's about lifting stigma. It's about support, understanding, compassion, and for many of our youth with so much trauma a part of their lives, to be in a safe space. How will you ever have an opportunity to be somewhere if you don't even know how to look somebody in the eyes and say hello?
That's right.
Right? You can't even sit in an interview to get to the next level of getting a job if you don't know how to do that, right? So, it's a big part of many of the young adults who have gone through Mark's training, there are some that could barely even say hello or look or talk or engage, and so it's not only are they learning about blue cheese dressing, it's their big joke, right? And how bad it smells. And, and a lot of people never even knew what blue cheese dressing was, right? Or where the silverware is placed or the glass, but it's a socialization, right? So we're uplifting soft, hard skills, those 4 components I spoke of, and then the social emotional learning, but in a safe space of understanding and compassion.
Yeah, and I love the fact that it's so collaborative. As you say, you welcome other organizations to come in and help with the lift, because that lift is significant. It's you can't highlight enough that people's lives have real barriers sometimes. That sometimes some of us are fortunate not to have those barriers, but those of us who are familiar working with people who do, it is a hard lift. And so the fact that you're open to collaborations, I think, is what's making it more successful. You're gaining a better and better reputation within the community, which means more people want to work with you. So tell me now, Mark, how does RHI feed into this philosophy of the Blooming Bistro?
Sure. So yeah, I guess I never made the transition of being in the restaurant business to RHI. So yes, I was working a lot of hours and doing a lot of great things. And I was opening restaurants where one on the Strip, I had 500-600 employees. And it's kind of like, where am I finding all these people? You just don't open some random door and all of a sudden all these food servers come out. So, if you always wanted a bartender, you can go to bartending school. If you wanted a manager, you can go to, UNLV. If you wanted a culinary, you can go to culinary school. But think about it. When you go to a restaurant, about 95 to 100% of your interaction is with your food server, with your line level employees. These are the ones that are making your sales and they're the face of your business. But these people very, very unoften get trained. So what I wanted to do is I literally found out what it took to open up a school, a post-secondary school. I got all the paperwork and got it, filled it all out, locked myself in a room, and it took me about 3 months to put everything together and went in front of the Commission on Post-Secondary Education and got approved.
So you make it sound very easy, but
it was 3 months was a trying time, when you're opening a new business. And yes, it was with all the restaurants opening that I've done and being on the Strip, it was not one of the easiest things that I've done, but we went ahead and we've done it. And now in the meantime, we've got an additional 2 schools approved by the CPE, and they are 2 out of 3 of them are on the ETPL, which is on the eligible training provider list. So
are they also about hospitality?
Yes. So the 2 classes, one is a hospitality jumpstart, which is what we offer for the Blooming Bistro employees, which you come to us. Again, I wasn't even sure whenever I first was introduced to these kids if they could even speak. And now all of a sudden they were in front of cameras and speaking in front of, 50, 60 people at a time. So it's a 4-hour course that's designated to brand new hospitality students or people who want to be refreshed. And we talk about communication and the history of hospitality. And we talk about health, codes, the Southern Nevada Health District. We talk about how to answer phones and how to clear tables. And we ultimately leave them for the tools to be able to get them their work cards here in Nevada as well. So they'll leave our class with a voucher to be able to go to the Southern Nevada Health District, which is right down the street. And we also, one of the third program that we have that is not actually on the ETPL is our alcohol awareness program, which a lot of people might know as a TAM card, which is just that's a name brand. And we are one of the approved vendors. So literally you come to us for this 4-hour course. You get all the cards that you need. You get all the connections. We introduce some to Samantha's, to the Blooming Bistro, and that's kind of where the synergy comes about. So we have those 2 courses. The first one is a hospitality jumpstart. And then if you find out that you enjoy hospitality or you're looking to, a lot of people move to Las Vegas and don't really have the skills to work in the big casinos or even, elevate into an upper tier restaurant, you can come to us and we have classes. The hospitality server is the bulk of our class, and that's a 4-week program. It's only 1 hour a day, but we train you everything like, upselling, again, how to read your guests. We go a lot over food, how to make cheese, different cuts of meat. And of course, we spend a lot of time going over spirits and alcohol as well. I'm a certified wine, beer, and sake sommelier. So I translate that a lot to the classes. So it's kind of an all-in-one shop. And then you come to us, you elevate your career, and we make introductions, on the Strip to where you can get a a union job, that is a career. You know, I can't tell you how many people that I know that started out as a busboy or a hostess in a restaurant or as a food server. Now, all of a sudden, 30 years later, they have houses, they have 401k, they're ready to retire, and they've been a busboy for their whole career. So there's no shame in that whatsoever. And so we're happy to be able to provide this, and with the support of Nevada Workforce Connections and being on the ETPL and all that. So
you have the fancy thing that hangs from your neck when you become a sommelier?
I have one of those. I don't find it very practical. That's a little bit old school, right. And I always wondered how I've never worked around somebody who had it. Right. I know a lot of old school places have it, but I always wondered. I did have one of my trainers and someone who taught me a course one time. He always walked around it, but he was really old school. But I never found out how they got no wine on their shirt.
I know. Yeah.
Like their shirts were always dry, but they were tasting wine out of this thing like all day long. So
they wore white shirts.
And they wore white shirts. So I don't know how they how they drink out of it. But I do own one, but I have never used it before. So
not only is there a chance to do it there, but then they're spitting into the bucket. That's 2 chances to get wine on yourself.
And it's more and more challenging as the night goes on and the more wine that you taste, right?
Absolutely.
So maybe my guess is there's not a lot of tasting and spitting going on. It's more of they're more for looks. It's the action of. So
that's cool. When we opened the Bellagio in 97, a good friend was in FMB or food and beverage called Bart Mahoney.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So
we've crossed paths many times before. Okay. I can't say that.
Ex-Marine.
Yes. I've never officially worked underneath him before. We've always kind of crossed paths, or I've always been part of like a management team that's working inside of a casino.
So
he's never really kind of under under my domain.
Kitchen.
That's people still talk about. We had a conversation with him, about him about 2 or 3 days ago with some fellow colleagues of mine as well. So
he was known in the industry. Let's talk more about the Blooming Bistro, because you mentioned, Samantha, that you have multiple partners. Of course, for us as Workforce Connections, our American Job Centers, this is how our services manifest in the community. Sometimes they're in libraries, sometimes they're in city halls. We have one at the Vegas Chamber, which is the largest chamber of commerce in our state. We even have one in a private business called Movement Fitness, because we want to bring our resources or have access to our resources closer to where the need is. And a lot of times, if you centralize it somewhere downtown, somewhere here, somebody in Henderson has to take on 2 buses to come here. So that's why we're in the libraries in Henderson, in the libraries at North Las Vegas. But tell us about what the staff from the Employee NV Youth Hub from our American Job Centers, how are they contributing to the success of the Blooming Bistro? How is that partnership working between the Employee NV folks and the Blooming Bistro?
Well, I want to start off by saying without Workforce Connections and the partnership that the Blooming Bistro has with Workforce Connections, the Blooming Bistro couldn't even exist, right? It's the support that we get for the training that was built into the pro forma and the programming that even helped us come alive, right, to bloom. So with Employee NV Youth Hub specifically, our original first referring partner was Mission High Recovery School. They're the only recovery high school in the state of Nevada. Yes. And so when we take back that, go back in time to 2 years ago, Employee NV would go on site. Mark also brought his training on site at Mission High. The Blooming Bistro actually wasn't even open and didn't even exist in the space that it does yet, right? And so, the Employee NV Youth Hub team showed up to meet the individuals where they were at. And ever since then, it's just constant resources, supports. 2 of our young adults are getting their GEDs through Employee NV Youth Hub. They provide the bus passes, the gas cards, and our young adults and our second chance adults truly rely on those things to be able to get to work, right? If they don't have them in the time that they need them, they cannot show up for work, right? But it's that partnership, which is the whole reason, or not the reason, but what the Blooming Bistro was built upon. Because if we didn't know that resource was there, in order for us to do what we were doing, we couldn't do it without Workforce Connections. That's
great. I think, again, as we said earlier, these are real barriers to employment: transportation, childcare, uniforms, tools. And our system is built for that. but it works best when you find partners who also bring other assets like training, like a business. And so I want you to know also for us, it's been equally as rewarding because the stories that come out, the people and the impact that their lives receive from this experience of the Blooming Bistro is we have shown we've both brought them in person to meet the local elected officials that govern this agency, the board members that help guide the investments of this agency. And they just love the people coming out of the Blooming Bistro. Their stories are so powerful, of stories of second chances, stories of overcoming such, again, real problems like addiction and so forth. So I wanted you to know that we also look forward to continuing to grow this partnership with you guys. So when it comes, Mark, to our partnership, you were talking earlier how you've been able to now list several of your training offerings on the eligible training provider list, or ETPL as we call it. Again, I want to highlight that it's not as easy as it sounds. Hence, you spent time doing it. You have to really put your ducks in a row, meet all these, paperwork obligations and whatnot. But you've done it successfully 3 times now. And so, what has it meant? For you to be able to have the mechanism in place where you can provide the training, we can cover that funding, remove other barriers, and you see these people that end up at the Blooming Bistro and then perhaps move on to another restaurant or a hotel, a union job. What has that experience been like for you?
Well, I mean, needless to say, it's unbelievably rewarding, but I'm happy that the mechanisms are working together in synergy and in place, and we're happy to really be changing lives. So, but I will say a couple things as far as, first I'm going to jump on back. I'm going to piggyback on what Samantha was talking about, the Blooming Bistro, is since we're able to get this, this support from all the systems that are involved, that all we hear in Las Vegas nowadays is how there's no more value. Everything's way too expensive. People are price gouged. There's no service anymore. I'm going to say that those are completely the two opposite tenets that we have at the Blooming Bistro, right? We actually pass along some of the savings and make valued sandwiches and valued food so you can come in and not have to break the bank. And we are training people who, and kids who spend all their time on their phone, right? So now we force them to get out there and they have to talk to people. So the two Sigma things that are happening in Las Vegas are completely the opposite. So if you don't enjoy getting price gouged or tired of all the technology with customer service, you can come into the Blooming Bistro and have Samantha working the floor most days of the week and everyone's smiling and with a big welcome every single day at valued prices. So I kind of want to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
So
that's excellent. And before you go on, I want to make sure that you give us tell us the address one more time, or for the first time, of the Blooming Bistro, so we can put it on the screen. The address is?
So I believe it's 308 South Rancho.
It's 860.
Oh, 860. Okay, 30. I don't know where I got that from. That's
Where's the little clip? Just joking.
860 South Rancho and
number 6.
Number 6 is a suite.
Yes.
We're also going to ask you for some still shots or B-roll video so we can show it as we're talking now.
Wonderful.
Because we want people to see this podcast to actually, and I say, I live nearby, I work nearby, I'm going to go visit the bistro, right?
Yes.
So we'll do that. But the mic back to you. You were, first you wanted to stop with that comment.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we talk about that, and that's on Rancho and Charleston. And how the relationship with the team here has affected RHI has been great. And yes, there is a lot of paperwork that's constantly happening all the time, but it also reminds me that the team is doing their due diligence to make sure that nobody is sliding through the cracks, right? So as maybe sometimes, oh my gosh, I have to do this and I have to do this. Well, guess what? Everybody has to do that. And that's why you're able to use these systems. So, the juice is definitely worth a squeeze. I'm going through some of the processing right now, but as it is what it is. But
hopefully it's also proof of some accountability that, the taxpayer dollars are being washed over correctly.
Without a doubt. So, like I said, at some point or another, I'm a restaurant person. So I've never worked in the education or the government field. So navigating the system sometimes, which Samantha and I can attest to, is challenging sometimes, but it's rewarding to be able to do these things. I will speak also that being on the ETPL almost immediately gives RHI a seat at every table. So I can, when I want to speak to a nonprofit, we do one of our other partners that we have is working with Foundation for Recovery, of which we do a quarterly training with them and introduce a lot of them to there. But the bottom line, it gives us a seat at the table to be able to go to job fairs, to be able to go to a nonprofit group and say, listen, none of this money is coming out of your pocket for our training.
Right.
You have the government resources are there, and here they are. And we have been approved stringently, and we are here to be able to support you through the government. So all three of us are able to kind of work as a team in unison to make these things happen. So that's where it's been rewarding. And actually, in addition, I've had two separate independent restaurants navigate systems. So I went out to their facility and actually trained the restaurant independently, all their employees using the support that you provide. So if you are a freestanding restaurant that you can work, I don't want to say work the system because, just there are programs out there where you can actually use these systems to train your current staff. They don't have to be new ones as well. So we've done that with two separate restaurants also. So it's opened a lot of different doors. So yeah.
And if I may, and it is the individual we're uplifting, but it is a family. And it is a community,
Absolutely.
Right? We're breaking cycles and all the young adults and Second Chance. We have 12 participants that started in our first cycle, and every single one of them will be one of the first people in their families to be off Medicaid. Some are some of the first people in their families to work legally in the United States, and so, it's all about the community of wellness, right? And that's what our partnerships are doing.
Wow. That's really good. And I think, the next question really is the core, I think, of the story you're telling, because I've heard a few stories, but I'd like to hear from you. I know you have many. In this class alone, you have over a dozen. But if you were to pick one of your favorite stories, not the most favorite, but one of your favorite stories about the impact that you've had on a person's life, right? Tell us about that person, how they came in, what happened, and where are they now?
So I didn't put too much mind power into a lot of these questions, right? Because they're a given. They're the story of my life. They're the story of the Blooming Bistro and our partnership. This one was impossible to answer.
I bet.
You can't say there's one thing, right? I have a whole thing written out here of, that I do want to touch on and read, but, I think to answer it as a whole, the success stories are the success of the bistro mission. I've listened to our community talk for a long time about how do we make this work? How do we bring all the pieces together, right? DWSS and their workforce development and workforce connections, employee envy, and, all these organizations and the people they're serving and the issues they're having, and and then where do they get the training and how does it all happen? And the bistro, I think, we're all in agreement that the bistro is the place that's making this happen, right? So the mission, the partnerships, and of course the individuals, right? If it's not the individuals that are grabbing on, you can have all the resources in the world, and if nobody's grabbing on to it and doing something with it, none of it's going to matter, right? So, we have the 12 participants, 7 youth, 2 employed at Caesars Entertainment, which are an incredible direct hiring source for us. Both aiming to be full-time, 1 employed at a nonprofit organization full-time, all receiving culinary benefits, 1 full-time student. 2, the people who started later are connected to cosmetology schools. Our Second Chance adults are getting, their what is it called whenever you're going to be a truck driver? CDL. Another one's going to be a CNA. They're getting their educations all through employee envy connections. They all have childhood trauma. None of them were working. But, when you think about somebody not being able to say hello and look somebody in the eyes and literally shaking and sweating because of the uncomfortability of social engagement and such emotional and mental turmoil going on. To watch that individual be the person who was picked for Workforce Connections video, Carlos and Jennifer.
Mm-hmm. Jennifer, yeah, I remember.
And look at them.
Yeah.
And those are their stories. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot more to both their stories too, but literally not being able to engage, not being able to walk up to a table and say, may I clear your plate for you? That being basically the most terrifying thing that could ever happen. And today it is done with a smile and ease, and both of them have full-time employment outside of the bistro. Carlos is a lifeguard at the Flamingo. Jennifer is the front desk of Jewish Family Service Agency. I also work at JFSA, and I walked in today, and she says to me, "Welcome to JFSA," because our saying is "Welcome to the Blooming Bistro," right? And so, sorry, there was no way I could have just whipped something up shortly on that one, so I'm done.
No, that's very good. Thank you for sharing that, and especially again it's evident that the two of you really care deeply about not just the hospitality business and doing it right, but how that is helping people, go into better lives, better careers, not just in hospitality, but in other industries as well, like the, nonprofits and whatnot. I'm going to take this one a little out of order because I think it's important now. You've made a tremendous case. How can people watching, engage with you? How can listeners, viewers support the work you're doing, partner with you?
May I start?
Please. Can I add one thing about your last question, though, and what Samantha said?
Yeah.
I would like to share a story. You mentioned Carlos already, but he has a brother named Diego that also works in the place. They're both employed now at Caesars, right, within Caesars properties, and they both are second generation RHI. Wow. Their mother went to my very first RHI class. Wow. So that's just kind of a fun little heartwarming story.
Who is a second chance adult at the Blooming Bistro and is getting her CNA.
That's amazing. Yes. Family, layers there.
Yes.
So sorry, I didn't mean to. No. I just wanted to add on to that because I think that was a fun little.
Yeah, dual generational impact. Absolutely.
Yes. And awesome. So now you may continue.
Thank you. So as far as support for the Blooming Bistro, coming in.
Yep, that's where it starts. Coming in. Okay.
To for lunch. People eat anyway, right? Just come in and enjoy a meal at lunch and dinner. Thank you. We also you get to see the young adults. That's who's there. That's who's serving. Yep. Not only do we serve lunch and dinner and coming to the Blooming Bistro, but we also do platters for office parties, office ordering. We can also accommodate catering for up to 300 people and do specialized events as well. So really, you can go online, you can make donations, but we want people to be a part of what we're doing, right? And people want to give back, but they're not always giving back. This is an easy way of something that people do all the time. Absolutely. They go out to eat and all they need to do is just come to the Blooming Bistro to eat, right? And if people want to get involved, it's just go online and call us. And
what's the website?
The website is thebloomingBistro.com.
ThebloomingBistro.com.
So it's not hard to forget.
No.
Bloomingbistro.com.
And we'll put it here on the screen for the viewers. What about your telephone?
So our telephone number is 702-426-4047.
Perfect.
And, as far as referring partners, we are always looking to engage more in the community. We've got an incredible partnership built with St. Jude's Ranch for Children that we've been working very hard on. They are going to be sending their programming. We're implementing a pilot program with their young adults that are either aged out foster youth or still at the ranch. So we're working on a whole program together to uplift their youth. But we're, Mission and Recovery High School. And when there's other organizations in the community that we work with too.
Awesome. Well, I think, now I want to stop and dive a little bit into your personal lives because we've gotten to know a lot about your work, your passion. But obviously, hopefully, you have a good balance of, a good life-work balance. There's another sibling in there as well. But tell us about how you spend your off time where you're not working? How do you recharge those batteries? What things in life bring you happiness, fulfillment? And we'll start with you, Samantha.
Great, thank you. So my other sibling, Sarah, has our only child in the Steele family, and his name is Hunter, and he's the light of my life. So I love spending time with my nephew, my family, my friends, and yoga and nature is definitely a big part of my life, and I also love live music and concerts. So
very nice.
So all things that can just help raise the vibration, of goodness, and I would say volunteer, which always has been a part of my life. But since giving back is just a big part of everything that we're doing regularly, it's important, like you said, recharging ourselves, right? Our body, mind, and spirit. So.
Yeah, everything you mentioned, I think, is very healthy. Connecting with family, friends, to do quality stuff like live music, and I do all of that, so I'm glad. I'm happy to hear you doing that.
Maybe I'll see you out.
Yes, that's absolutely.
At a Grateful Dead show or a Dead and Company.
What about you? Is that the kind of concert we can see you at?
No, you certainly will not see me at any Dead and Company concert. That's where you'll see Samantha.
Tell us what you're hanging out on your time off.
As the viewers can see that I like to eat and drink, and since I do this for a living, again, we do not have, we have just Hunter in the family, but my wife and I don't have any kids, so we use a lot of our times to eat and drink and actually travel to go do it.
Nice.
So we'll often hit off some of the world's greatest restaurants, and now I do a lot of traveling to go to wine regions and see how different food is made and things like that. So, and you said about a work-life balance, and that's kind of always the joke in our household, is that a lot of the times it's really unclear where my work ends and my hobbies lie together. So, there's that old saying in life that if you do what you love, you're never going to work a day in your life. Yeah. So I don't even know when I'm going out to eat for work or not for work, or when I'm training people. It's like truly, Samantha, see me up there, and you'd probably never think someone was so passionate about bussing tables before, right? So, and worked with me side by side. So, it's just some of those things that sometimes you don't know where the work is ending and all that. So that to begin with, I'm also a very big sports fan. I was at the Bears-Raiders game yesterday. The Bears win the game. So
at the end.
Sorry, Las Vegas people. So I was right next to the block kick. So that was a lot of fun, sitting with a lot of Bears fans. So anyway, I digress. I'm a big sports fan.
Baseball stadium.
Yeah, and knock off baseball in particular. I'm trying to knock off every baseball stadium. So that kind of helps out because I do a lot of traveling for work. I have RHI here, but I'm lucky enough that my wife helps out with the company. We also have a couple other certified teachers that do stuff. So we're able to find a nice balance and be able to always kind of have somebody here. And it allows me to do a lot of restaurant consulting work because of my background. So I'm able to, actually, I'm in LA right now. Well, not right now. I'm here for the day, for the game and the podcast. And I'm leaving tomorrow morning to back to Santa Monica because I'm opening a restaurant there. And it's a French restaurant with a lot of hard work and tableside service. But again, this is what I was doing since birth. So it's easy for me to take that, mesh it with all the certified programs that we have, and we just put it together. And I'm able to, really, I get to go around and show people how to carved over sold tableside and best tables and talk about wine. I find it's a blessing that I get to do, and all the hobbies just kind of roll together. So
it's a joke that Mark came out with a glass of wine and a beret on his head whenever he came out from our mom.
Yeah.
If I may, just really quick, we also are always in need of giving, of grants, of donations to help support the work that we're doing. But we also are in need of direct hiring partners as well, right? Any hotel, casinos, restaurants, organizations, businesses, anybody who's interested in hiring our young adults, because they are trained by the very best, and they all are so passionate about showing up and being the best that they can be.
Well, this is the thing too about it, and it's not just the big casinos. It's we're looking at entry level positions here, right? We're not looking at somebody who's going to be a master sommelier. So we're looking at busboys and hostesses and food runners and people who are working in the dish room. So ultimately, right now, a lot of restaurants out there, when they're hiring these entry level positions, they're just getting over half an hour, 15-minute interview. They're hiring somebody and they're putting them to be their face of their restaurant. Here, if you come to us, you have somebody who's been trained, by a state-approved post-secondary school. They have all their work cards, and they're going to be working at the Blooming Bistro with real-life experiences from 3 to 6 months.
Absolutely.
I mean, if that is not better than just trying to put an ad out and hire somebody off the street, I don't know what to do for you in your business, but I mean, people should be knocking down the door of having entry-level busboys and hostesses coming to us and uplifting the community at the same time. You know, so.
And that's what we want to do, I think, showcase today's podcast and get it out there so that maybe more people know about you, more people reach out to hire those folks to create spots so you can do more. I want to congratulate you on this model because, again, it's something that you built from scratch. It didn't have necessarily a blueprint for it. But as we've talked about, we believe in it. That's why we're in a part of it. We're looking forward to grow it, scale it, tell more businesses about it, bring more resources to it. So that's the reason you were here. I want to thank you for the time for coming here today. And again, maybe one of these days we're going to have to do something on site there at the Blooming Bistro. I can see that in our future. Is that a fair seed to plant?
That sounds perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Samantha, thank you for being here.
Appreciate you.
Mark, thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We hope to see you at a future one. And until then, stay safe. Mark and Samantha, thank you for staying over to doing our bonus segment called Against the Wall. Are you ready?
Ready.
Yes.
The first segment is called Him or Her. Show me the paddles. Him or her. Yep. You're going to be using those. So we're going to start the first few about your past. So think about it in past tense when you were growing up together as siblings. Who loved early mornings? Him or her?
I don't think either. Neither.
Either. Okay.
No, I'll say because I had to wake up for football.
Okay. Next question. Who was the night owl of the two of you? Okay. Who was more responsible as a child? Who did better in school? Oh, Mark, you're taking it away. Who played sports in high school? Oh, okay, him. All right. And finally, the past. Who was more competitive when you were growing up? All right. You guys agree on almost everything. Now we're switching to the present today.
So I win, right?
Not yet.
Okay, right, okay.
Who is the better cook? Wow. Who is more frugal? Ooh, okay. Who is more tech savvy? Who works longer hours?
It's going to leave mine out.
Who is the tougher boss? Okay, very good. You guys made it. I'm going to call it a tie.
All right.
Now. All right. We're going to switch. If we can collect those paddles from you, we're going to get them ready for the next segment. This is called True or False. So we're going to go the first one. RHI's curriculum is designed around real-world restaurant operations. Program participants receive, and this is now both front and back of the house training. They receive both.
Just front of the house.
Just front of the house. Okay.
We
do food.
We do sanitation and food, but we don't
Can we go like this?
Maybe like this. All right. Participants must have prior restaurant experience to enroll. False. RHI is on the eligible training provider under Nevada's workforce system.
Oh,
It is.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm getting it renewed right now. So
Very good.
Check me on that.
Very good.
that's
But
why I
yes,
did
it has been
phosphorus.
for a long time. So
This one is tricky. The main goal of the programs is to train all participants to become celebrity chefs. Obviously, false.
It could be.
Hopefully, but it's not necessarily all of them have to be, right? The Blooming Bistro training model includes trauma-informed and recovery-based practices, which is very important in the model. Participants do not receive job placement support or follow-up services after graduation. Right. What help would that be?
What are we doing here, people?
Participants must complete mock interviews and soft skills workshops before graduation.
Yeah.
Yes, true.
Sure.
Participants who graduate may go on to open their own food businesses. 100% true. And Sam and Mark, you wouldn't trade this journey for anything. Absolutely true. All right, you can put down your paddles. Another tie. You did very good.
thanks.
And the final segment is called Finish the Sentence. I'm going to give you about 90% of the sentence. You're going to finish it. Samantha, I'll start with you. If you could visit any place in the world, it would be? Any place. Where you like to travel?
An island somewhere with blue water.
Very good. The Caribbean. Mark, if you could visit any place in the world, it would be?
Antarctica.
Samantha, the best part about living in Southern Nevada is?
Is the community.
Mark, best part about living in Southern Nevada is?
The weather and the easy ability to travel to places.
Samantha, the favorite aspect of your job at the Blooming Bistro is?
The people.
Mark, your favorite aspect about your job?
I get to do what I love.
Awesome. Samantha, if you could travel back in time, you would travel to?
Gosh, why are these questions so hard? Oh my gosh, to the 80s.
All right. Madonna.
Did you live in the 80s?
Mark, if you could travel back in time, you would travel to?
Definitely not during Prohibition.
That's right.
Maybe right after Prohibition. It felt like you could party.
All of time.
You could have been a moonshiner. That's all right.
Exactly. So that's it's still legal.
The 60s.
All right. Samantha, 3 words that describe you are?
Compassionate, understanding, and sincere.
Couldn't agree more. Mark, 3 words that describe you are?
Focused, flexible, and funny.
Very good. And all of them are F's.
Yeah.
Very good. Samantha, doing the WC podcast here with us today was?
Totally enjoyable.
Mark, doing the WC podcast here with us today was?
Ready to sign the next time we're going to do this.
All right. Very good. Well, I want to thank you again. Appreciate your time. And hopefully until next time, right? Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you very much.